There was like 20 something people last week. But
Where are they?
so remember that we had discussed about what's required for the IDs, and then we were questioning the price, if we could charge 2 prices when you do a jurat.
Yeah, I looked that up.
Yeah, I called them as well, and I got the answers for that.
Okay, I was going to discuss that too, but I'll go ahead and let you go over that information that you got. First, well, yeah, why not? If you called and got information, you're probably just going to say the same thing I was going to say anyway. And I get tired of talking every meeting. But first, I want to welcome you guys. This is book club meet for chapter 8 and 9. We're going to be discussing acknowledgements, oaths, affirmations, jurats. And was it affidavits or it's just okay? Oath, affirmations, and jurats. That was it. Okay. And so I'm recording. Like last week, we're not going to do a Kahoot. We're going to do some practice. So I got some practice scenarios for you guys to fill in journal pages with. And instead of me emailing them to you, I just uploaded them to my Google Drive and I shared the links in the chat. So when you get a chance, click on each one, print them out for yourself during the meeting. And then at the end of us reviewing chapter 8 and 9, we're going to go ahead and I'll show you guys the sample notary scenarios, and then you can fill out your journal entries, okay? And then we can go over that. So Angelica, last meeting we were discussing, and I forgot who the other young lady was I was talking to it about. She was wondering if, since you're doing since a jurat and an oath affirmation are both notarial acts, when you perform a jurat, she was wondering, can you charge 2 prices since it's 2 notary acts in one? So Angelica's gonna.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm hearing a bad echo feedback, so I don't know if it's.
Was it for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody else hear echo?
I hear it too.
Dang.
So I'm muting. I'm just muting in case so there's no background or but I'm hearing your talking more than once.
Okay, I just muted everybody. Is that a difference, or you guys are still hearing the echo? Oh wait, hold on. It's good now? Okay. All right. Maybe that's what it was. Okay. So if you guys want to talk, you just have to unmute yourself instead of me having everybody unmuted, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so we were discussing, since a jurat and oath affirmation are both different notarial acts, would you charge 2 prices? And so Angelica is going to share with us that information and the answer to that question. So Angelica, you want to go ahead?
Okay. They said that just because you're doing a jurat does not always mean that you are doing a oath and affirmation. So it would only be 1 price, unless you were specifically doing both because it was necessary to do them both. Is that what you read?
I gotta wait to unmute. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so Angelica, your answer is partly correct. You got it. I think you got it backwards. So with a jurat, you're going to always be performing an oath and affirmation. The jurat and oath affirmation go hand in hand, so it's not 2 separate notarial acts. An oath affirmation you may do without a jurat. Like an oath affirmation can be done without a jurat. A jurat cannot be done without an oath affirmation. Okay.
Okay.
Does that
I do
make
remember
sense?
him saying that if the verbiage on the certificate says sworn before me, then it would not be 2 separate certificates. So it would not be 2 different prices. It would be just the 10.
Right. Because a jurat cannot be performed without an swearing, but an oath affirmation can be done by itself. And the reason being is because a jurat pertains to a document and an oath affirmation notarial act pertains to a testimony, a sworn testimony. So a spoken word. Okay. So that's the difference, guys. The jurat pertains to a document. The oath affirmation pertains to sworn, spoken, whatever you want to say.
I think it kind of basically says that the oath and affirmation is that person giving they're saying it. It's their personal thing. They're saying that they are in compliance, whereas a jurat is more of a document thing. Is that?
Yeah, the reason why the jurat pertains to a document is because you are swearing that the contents of the document are true to the best of your knowledge. An oath affirmation is you giving a sworn statement saying that you agree to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Well,
That's
the
an oath
sign.
affirmation. That's the signer. Yes,
Mhm.
always. So someone may call you and say, hey, I need for you to witness my client's oath in regards to a court case. And you can do that. And it will be a notarial act in itself. Okay.
Mhm.
Did that make sense, guys?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna chime in. I'm gonna
Yeah.
chime in real quick because that confused me a little bit. Because I'm thinking, like, you know how you go to court and they go raise your right hand and say the oath? You're in court, you're verbally swearing in front of a judge. When I, as a notary, I'm not a judge, I'm not an attorney, but we have a jurat where the wording is you're going to say the oath to them and they're going to say, yes, I do, or whatever. So what's the difference why we're saying that the jurat and the oath are separate when all we can do is actually a jurat that acknowledge the oath, if that makes sense? Or
So
did
in
I just
chapter
confuse it
9,
more?
so in chapter 9 that you didn't
The
get a
one I
chance
didn't
to
read
read
yet?
yet, it says, who may give oaths and affirmations? The following: notaries, other officials, including federal, state, county, and city employees, electees, and appointees. So that's why we are allowed, because we're a public official, to execute an oath.
But
Okay.
just, I think kind of an easy way to think of it, Caroline, is just to say the jurat is for a document specifically. An oath or an affirmation is a signer's personal, it's on their honor or they're swearing to God that this is true to their
Right.
knowledge. So
But can that be done on an acknowledgement? Like if
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
an acknowledgement, I can say, okay, we're gonna do an oath. Like you're swearing that you're the true signer and this is your signature, blah, blah. And he go, yeah, I do. That would be like an oath or affirmation, I should say, for that acknowledgement, right?
Some acknowledgements do say on there, sworn to me, sworn before me. Okay. It's just all based on the verbiage.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
why it's
Which is
important when
what
we are.
the practice sheet we had last week. That's what it said on there, which is how the question came up.
Yep.
We got confused.
Mhm.
That's probably why I wasn't there last week. I would have got confused.
in
But
Washington,
like Jane said,
sorry. In Washington, we
gonna say,
only charge for each stamp. You know.
And that's
So,
here too. We charge per stamp, right?
yeah, it doesn't
It's
matter
per-
if we get a stamp on our head. Just the
it's per
stamp.
notarial act. Okay.
Yeah.
So some states have it where you charge per notarial act. Some states have it where you charge per signature. Okay. So
Per
in
signature.
Florida, ours is per notarial act. A notarial act includes you completing a certificate, signing and stamping it. That's one notarial act. If you have one document with 2 certificates, 2 notary signatures, 2 notary seals, that's 2 notarial acts. So you're charging $20, not just 10.
Right,
Just because it's one, because sometimes people say per document, I got to stamp. Well, if you stamp in 2 stamps on one document, it's per notarial act. I've had documents where it's 2 signers, like one I did on Saturday. I did a marriage separation document, and on the one, it had 2 certificates 2 stamps
On one doc?
on one document, because it can, it can do that because remember, there are short form acknowledgements and short form jurats. And so there was a short form certificate on each document. That's why they were able to fit 2 on one page.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And then I had to do that for each signer. So that was 20 for one signer, 20 for the other signer.
Because technically
Okay.
you're doing 4.
I completed 4 notarial acts.
So if the
So that's
sheet
how
has
that
2 on
works.
there, it's considered 2
Right.
full
If you are
notarial acts.
applying your seal, however many times you apply your seal, that's how many $10 you charge.
Okay. Well, that's easy because every
That's how
time we
that works.
sign, we have to apply our seal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time you complete a certificate, you have to apply your seal. There are going to be times where you sign a document and a certificate is not present, but you're signing like as a witness, or you're signing as, if you're signing a document that is for the notary, you're not going to notarize your own signature. So no, you're not going to always seal when you sign. You just got to pay attention to the verbiage. But whenever you're completing a certificate, a notary certificate, in order for that notary certificate to be valid, you do have to sign and seal it.
Or the county will not be happy.
Or the receiving party, they may not take it. Then that person got to find you again to get a whole new process done. So,
yeah.
But okay, I'm happy that we covered that. So we know jurat pertains to a document. Oath affirmation is spoken word, spoken statement. We know that. That's the difference. Okay, that's the easiest way to remember the difference. Most times, every time, I think, with the jurat, you will have them do an oath affirmation. But just because you're doing an oath affirmation doesn't always mean you're doing a jurat. Okay, one can be done without the other one cannot be. Okay, so let's start with chapter 8, talking about acknowledgements. That is the most common notary act. That is the most common notarization you're going to complete, is an acknowledgement, right? We all went over, what needs to be done in order for you to complete a notarization. They have to personally appear before you. The document, what the difference with the acknowledgement is, the document doesn't have to be signed in front of you, right? So all they have to do is acknowledge that that's their signature on the document. It does not have to be signed in front of you for an acknowledgement. That is the biggest difference from an acknowledgement and a jurat. So if a person comes to you, hey, I need to get this notarized, and it's already signed, you want to just check the verbiage, check the certificate, make sure that it says, acknowledge before me, or acknowledge so-and-so's signature, or whatever. It has to have some type of acknowledgement, or sometimes it'll have title acknowledgement agreement. So as long as it says that, it's like, okay, just verify it. Ask them, is this your signature? Yeah, it is. Okay. And you can notarize it. Now, one of the interesting things that I found interesting here was the representative capacities. Did anybody want to chime in on that?
Definitely makes it a little more complicated having a representative involved.
Why?
Because you got to make sure that they're who they are and what they say they are. And I think we've talked about this before. It is a little bit kind of dicey, like what information are you getting? I think Carolyn had mentioned somebody could just write up a letterhead or, anything like that. So, you really are almost, seems like a really good place to have an oath to kind of protect you, because it wouldn't be very fun to have them come back and find out, yeah, that wasn't the president of the bank.
Right. Oh my goodness. Now, one of the things was in chapter 9. So I guess we'll have to but I did find it interesting between chapter 8 and chapter 9, how I was explaining about signing in a capacity of attorney in fact, or, an entity, corporation, partnership, because you can do that for an acknowledgement. But in Chapter 9, it says you cannot do that for a jurat. So I found that very interesting.
I didn't think it was jurat. I thought it was an oath or affirmation on that. But I mean, because like there were some places that a jurat, like if it was in the document and they wanted it to be, maybe I misread that.
So what it was saying in Chapter 9 is like they can't expect for the bank to swear that the contents in the document are true, but they can have the representative swear that the documents are true. The contents are true in the document. So the certificate wording will have to be different, not unless they worded it to where such and such representative for swears to. It always has to be the person signing is swearing to, and not the corporation is swearing to.
Yes.
So that's what it was with the jurat.
That's what I did understand that.
And then I found it kind of it was a lot. It was a lot for me to see that, when what we keep in our bags are general acknowledgments, right? But depending on the type of signing, you can't use that general acknowledgement. You would have to have a specific acknowledgement for a specific notarization, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, so then that's going to add to more questions I would have. Like, when a person calls you and they need you to notarize a document, and then you ask them some qualifying questions to make sure you can and what you need on your end, because you're going to go meet them. So God forbid you meet them, you don't have everything you need, then, can't notarize, right? So I was like, because it's not like I'm going to keep all of those copies of different types of acknowledgments on me. Because I'm not going to use them all the time.
I think it's important though to kind of, keep in your back pocket, that memory that, it is their responsibility to give you this paperwork. And if they don't have it, and that means they're really not clear on what they want done. So some of those things, they are kind of, there's a lot of wording, a lot of verbiage that's different. And I think that has to be the signer's responsibility, because for us to even validate whether our state is okay, if that's okay, that has to come from them. I mean, it's if we have all those different ones in our bag, it could really lead to some big problems if we accidentally put the wrong one on the table, or something.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
If, like you said, we can't carry around all the different kinds of paperwork that they might need to be notarized.
Right.
If you go through your qualification questions and you set up the appointment and you get to the appointment and you find out that they don't have the correct paperwork, and they're like, well, I thought you had it. Can you refuse the appointment at that point, or should you have them like maybe send you like a screenshot of the paperwork before you go to the appointment? Like I would hate to waste my time and the client's time by going to an appointment and they don't have the correct paperwork, even though you ask them the questions and they're like, yeah, I think I got the right stuff. So
yeah,
I would ask them to read the bottom just to see what it's instructing them to do. I personally would, like, because it's their responsibility to know what type. We can't tell them what certificate to use. So if they're saying, yeah, I need an acknowledgement, and I guess, like you said, ask qualifying questions, I guess the thing is, what questions are we asking? Right. As to get a comprehension of what they have and what they want us to do. Like, do you ask them to read a portion of it where it, how in bold, how it tells you the instrument as an attorney in fact, or a representative of ABC company, or they should be able to tell you that before you even go there to know what type of notarial act you're going to, well, what type of acknowledgement you're going to do, right?
Right. That's what I would assume they would know. But we don't know until we ask questions.
Yeah, so it's just the
Right, but I
questions we
thought-
gotta ask. I guess, what questions do you ask before you go on your notary work? For those who have done it.
Okay.
What do you ask
I
before you
thought
go
that
out?
we weren't supposed to concern ourselves with what is their document is, and we're just supposed to tell them like what certificates you have available and let them choose. Like you explain what an acknowledgement is, you explain what a jurat is, you let them choose what it is that they need. Is that not correct?
If
Yeah,
it's-
yeah, but if they say they have an acknowledgement and you go and it's like an acknowledgement and it's a partnership, then your wording is going to need more wording because it has that extra on there that you would need. Like, they showed examples of like different scenarios, whether it was a corporation, whether it was a trustee, whether it was a partnership, or whether it was like a combination. So you wouldn't even know that.
Well, everybody doesn't always have a certificate for you anyways, so you
But-
still wouldn't know.
in those specific reasoning, in those specific areas, it is to their benefit to have the correct paperwork. Honestly, these are very specific kind of things. This is not like a general acknowledgement. So I would assume, have that paperwork with them, because if we don't complete it, they don't get it. It's not accomplished. And I'm sure if you're a corporation, you're wanting it to be accomplished. I think it would be pretty rare that they would not have this already figured out in that kind of a scenario. Thank you. But I wouldn't personally notarize something that looked really complicated and they didn't have it written up correctly, and I didn't have anything to help them with that. I was like, yeah.
But we can write in what's missing, right? We can actually write in what's missing, wordings.
I think that's pretty sketchy. You know, if you write it in and it might not be the exact thing that is required, you would be then liable, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to be liable.
I wouldn't either.
I'd be like, I'm like, I'll go get myself a coffee, and I guess I had a good drive. I don't know.
But I know that it was written that you can type it or write in any missing verbiage. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
think that
I did see that in chapter 8. That was one of my questions, but I don't think we've made it there yet. But it kind of seems like we didn't start from the beginning of the chapter. We're kind of just all over, yeah.
I don't know. This
Well,
is
we're still talking about certificates, so we're going through the chapter correctly. We're talking about certificates now, and different certificates that you will use for different scenarios. So I'm enjoying listening to you guys talk. That's why I'm not saying anything. I have the answers for your questions, but I wanted to hear you guys brainstorm and figure it out, you know, because that's what the book clubs are about, right? It's about everybody brainstorming, putting their heads together and figuring out. It's not about me just telling you guys everything, you know? So I enjoyed that. Now, before you get started doing any general notary work, for those of you who have not, you want to have some qualifying questions that you ask your customers when they call you. The reason being is because they're not going to know everything that they need. It is your job to try to steer them in the direction so that you will understand what it is that they need. Okay, so you can point them in the right direction. Like, oh, you know, it sounds like you may need to do this. So maybe contact the receiving party that gave you the document or blah, blah, blah. Okay. You want to be very specific in how you are attaining information from your customers. Sometimes they may need to send you a copy of the document so that you can review it, to one, make sure that it's a document that you can notarize, and two, to make sure that the document even needs to be notarized. I've had people share documents with me that don't even need notarizations, but they didn't know it, so these are things that you want to do on your end. Okay, it's called customer service. It kind of goes outside of the realm of notary for a little bit. You're providing a service, and customer service is part of your duty. Okay, no, you cannot tell them what document to use, but no, you cannot tell them what type of notarization to do. But if they're telling you that, I have to do this document for my partnership, I'm one of the representatives. They told this document here, it says I need to do an acknowledgement. And then you're going to want to see that document. This has to do with him being a representative. So that means he's not performing in the capacity of an individual. So you want to see the document. You want to make sure that you're going to have the appropriate acknowledgement forms, because you can't use a general acknowledgement form for somebody who's signing in a capacity other than an individual. You guys understand that?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, is asking for a copy of the document before I have them sign anything. Just because, I'm just so dang new. I'm like,
and sometimes if the documents have information on there that they do not want to share with you, you can always Google it. You just want to make sure they tell you what the document is by title, and then you can Google it and look at it. Okay. When it comes to certain situations, when people signing in different capacities, no, you cannot write in that verbiage. You want to make sure you have a specific certificate for that specific capacity. Okay. Now, the hardest thing with having someone sign in a capacity other than themselves, verification part. In the certificate that is for people who are signing in other capacities, in that certificate, it does say that you, the notary, have reviewed that document to prove that the person is able to sign in that capacity. So you do want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, make sure that you are informing them of what's needed, because if you don't tell them everything they need and you get there, then that kind of falls on you. They're not going to know everything they need. That's why they're calling you. You're the professional. Okay. There are some things that we can tell them and some things that we can't. Okay. But telling them what they need. I need a valid identification. You should know what valid IDs are required in your, are accepted in your state. That should not be a question. As soon as they tell you, I don't have my ID, you should already be able to blurt out, well, this is what else I could take. Okay. Either you're going to have a copy with you. I carry a copy on me. So if they don't have the documents that I know for sure that I can use, I just pull out my copy and I let them review it. And then they'll, oh, you know what? I got this. Let me go get it. Okay. That just shuts it out right quick. They don't have to start pulling out credit cards and stuff. Nope. Here's the list. This is what I need here. If you don't have any of these documents, then I won't be able to perform the notarization today. Nobody wants to hear that. So make sure that you try to avoid that by telling them over the phone. Okay. Before I meet with a person, I confirm that they have valid identification. I confirm the time. I confirm the location. I confirm that all the signers listed on the document are going to be present. Okay. I don't leave any surprises for myself for when I arrive. Okay. It makes my job easier. It makes them appreciate my service, and usually they're return customers. Okay. So I think that answered all y'all questions. Did it? All right,
No.
cool. No, what?
No. Carolyn had a question about being able to write in the verbiage, and that was actually one of the questions that I had when I was reading under certificate wording prescribed by state law. So it
Yeah, I
says
answered that.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yes, you can write in some things, but if, oh wait, hold on. But if somebody is signing in a different capacity, no, you're not writing in that nothing. You have to use a certificate that pertains to a person signing in a different capacity other than themselves. Now, if you have a general certificate, yeah, you can fill it in. Like today, I had a loan signing, and the certificates on the loan signing documents didn't have venues, none of them. So I had to write that in.
So you just write that in like on the side, or you try to
Yeah.
fit it in a little space?
I put it near the wording.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Pertaining to the specific certificates, are we allowed to provide those to the customer, or do we direct them to where to get it? We can provide it.
We can
No?
provide our own notarial certificates. They don't have to bring us notary certificates. That's what we're supposed to have. That's part of our job. We have our own loose certificates. They tell us what type of notarization they need. We review the document to see exactly what type of document of the notarization. So if they tell you they need an acknowledgement and you see that it's for a partnership, then you're going to look for acknowledgement with partnership verbiage on it. That's what you're going to do.
Okay. Thank you.
And I want to clarify that I heard someone say that we are not allowed to carry around our different certificates. You're only supposed to take what you need.
No, you can. I was just saying, I'm not going to. That's if you look in your primer, that's a lot of different certificates. I'm not carrying all those around with me. I carry what I need. I carry my general acknowledgement, general jurat, and general copy certification certificates with me. Now, if somebody needs something different, that's where your qualifying questions come into play. You ask them what is what they need, and then you prepare yourself for the appointment.
But if it was for like a corporation or something, they would want to provide that information, that particular wording or verbiage on there, because it's going to be specific to what they need anyways.
Well, they're going to tell, like I said, you want to make sure that you have good questions. We always ask, does the documents already have a spot where it says notary sign and all that stuff? And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I have a whole page. It's just like all for notary. Bam, there you go. You got the certificate, You can even ask them, like, what does this say? Does it say acknowledgement or jurat? Because what if you mess up the certificate? You can draw a line through it and use a loose certificate. But if you don't have it on you, then you're kind of, out of luck. So, yeah. But most times people are going to have the verbiage already on the documents, the majority of the time, guys. So you don't have to really worry about it much. You just want to make sure that if for some reason you make a mistake, like what if they tell you what everything that you need to hear, and then you get there and you see the document, the space for your notary stamp is too small, and you don't have any certificates on you. That would suck, right? So you want to be prepared at all times for anything that may come about. That's why you just got to ask questions. And then if you're totally unsure and they're totally unsure, have them share a copy. There's nothing wrong with that. They can refuse, of course. They can refuse too, and maybe you can Google it. Maybe you can't. And then you could always tell them, if I'm not able to verify that I can notarize a document, then maybe you haven't paid a deposit, So if you get there and you can't notarize a document, at least you're not out of no money. Like, well, you paid me the travel fee. I told you to send me this document so I can see if I can notarize it. I got all the way over here and I can't notarize it. So it would behoove you. So, maybe if you tell them it's going to be a deposit, since you won't show me, maybe they'll change their mind and send it to you anyway. But you definitely want to make sure that you're aware of what you're signing. No, you don't have to be concerned with the contents, but you still want to see if it's something you can do. Like I said, I've had a couple instances where people didn't need a notary at all. Oh, well, I was just going to do it because I thought it would make it legal. No, it's not going to make it legal. It's going to be the same thing it is with a stamp on it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, thank you.
I had somebody thought they needed witnesses, and they did not need witnesses. I'm glad I asked for the document to look at it before I went.
Yeah.
So, good business practice.
Mm-hmm. Very much
Now,
so.
I have a question about if someone, how if someone is signing as they're a power attorney and they're signing, so they're going to show you proof that they were power attorney. What about like partnerships and corporation? Are they going to bring you a document, or you're going to want proof of their relationship to the company or their partnership with the other people? What do you ask for? Proof of that for them to bring it? Is that proof? Does that proof have to be notarized?
No. I mean, in theory, you would like for it to have a letterhead, maybe a seal, that would be helpful, but unfortunately, hold on. Come on, phone, come on up. What is this? Oh, it's that same thing. No, I don't want to do that. All right, sorry guys. Yeah, in theory, you will want to ask them. It's just like asking them to make sure they have valid identification. Because you're signing in the capacity of, can you please make sure that you show proof, have proof of that ready, which they're probably already going to say, yeah, I already know I had to have it. But like I said, work on those qualifying question, guys. When your customers call, you should already have that set. You should have, like, I have it set, but that's because I've been doing this for a while, so I just already know what questions to ask. But when you're starting out, you want to make sure that you have some qualifying questions that you're going to get used to asking people when they call you. This is going to avoid a lot of you driving and not being able to do it and wasting time and wasting their time too. All right.
So no proof required. That I don't know about that. Too much fraud going on.
No, I didn't say that.
People draw up a lot of fraud. Just like I'll tell you an incident that recently happened. A guy drew up a contract that he owned a piece of land or something, and I think he went to get a loan from the bank and used the land as collateral. He wasn't the owner of the land. I'm just saying. Now, if anything was to go to court, am I going to be involved in this? And I didn't prove that they were the right person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Well, yeah, you still got to ask for proof. Yeah, that's why I was saying.
That proof, not necessarily. That's why I asked if the proof had to be notarized.
Whatever.
You're writing in your journal what proof you, and so to the best of your knowledge, that's the best you can do, really.
Yep.
I mean,
it is.
They could fraud. They could be doing fraud, because people are really crafty. But to the best,
as long as you verify their identity and you got them to sign the book, put their thumbprint, you're in the clear. You did your job, basically.
Yeah.
And you want to make notes. You want to, in your notes, you're going to say produced document, proving that they can sign this capacity, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you're going to cover yourself regardless.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I know here in Virginia, in regards to like property and land, I think it's this everywhere. You can go downtown if you ever have like a doubt about whether somebody is who they say, or if they own a piece of property. You can literally go downtown because that's all public record. Like if
you can look online too.
You can pull it up online. If they sound kind of shaky on the phone, you can pull it up online and get that information.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually own the property.
Yeah.
And then you can stop it before it goes any further, because like you said, they can say who they are, but if it comes back, if somebody tries to buy that property, sign that paper, at least you know. At least you can clear
Right.
your conscience and say, yeah, I know he didn't really own that piece of property.
Yep. You're
In a
right.
case like
You better get on that county website before you drive down to their house then.
might have to, yes.
All right.
Okay,
So
I
we
have
went
some
over.
questions.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so we are done with discussing the different type of certificates that are needed. Certificates having different verbiage, us making sure you now know you shouldn't be concerned with the contents of the documents you're notarizing, but you should definitely be concerned with the verbiage in your notary certificate because you want to make sure that you're doing whatever it's asking you to do, right?
Correct,
Mhm.
which is one of my questions. So for the
Okay.
all-purpose acknowledgement certificate, it has like it's an acknowledgement, but it has jurat wording in there because it says like duly sworn or affirmed. So would it still just strictly be an acknowledgement, or would they have to also do was it an
An
oath
oath.
swearing?
Oath of
Swear.
affirmation.
Yeah.
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 So I had watched a video where they said if it had the jurat wording, whether it said acknowledgement or not, it was a jurat. But I don't know where I saw that at. So I'm going to say that it's an acknowledgement because there are some acknowledgements where you will be executing an oath affirmation.
Okay. Let me take that off my list. Okay. And then my other question was for the credible identifying witness acknowledgement certificates. It says in many states, it suffices merely to indicate on the acknowledgement certificate that the signer's identity was proven on the basis of satisfactory evidence or words to that effect. So would we be writing anything on there like that it's proven?
For
Or
the
we're good
for
on
the credible identifying witness.
that? Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be writing that information in your journal. So you're going to fill out the certificate, and then you're going to be, remember we have to verify the credible witnesses information. You have to have their name. Preferably, you want to record their ID if you're in a state where you can do that. I know with Texas is really, really iffy. There's a lot of stuff that you cannot do when you verify your signer in Texas, but here in Florida, where I am, we can do that. So you want to collect their name, you want to collect their ID, you want to collect their signature. Okay, of all witnesses, credible or otherwise. And that's
It's a
going to
whole
be put in
nother,
your journal.
that's a whole nother line in your journal.
Okay, so it would just be a notation that I make in my note section in my journal.
No,
After I fill in my journal.
yeah, all their information is in your journal. It's
So
like
just filling out my journal is proven satisfactory evidence.
No, you're
Or
proven.
was I reading this wrong and I was confused?
Yeah, so you're confused. So when it's saying that they prove to me on the basis of satisfactory evidence is either going to be ID or on the oath of someone else.
Gotcha.
That's your satisfactory evidence. And you're going to make sure you record the satisfactory evidence that you reviewed in your journal.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
in Washington, they have to be personally known.
Okay.
And that does make it a little bit more difficult for that to be a thing, I think.
Okay. Performing a typical acknowledgement. Okay. So we went through, like I said, that we have all of those different acknowledgements. So we just want to make sure that whatever type of notarization we're doing, if it's not of a general purpose, we want to make sure that we're asking the customer that's contacting you so that you can make sure that you're going to have the appropriate certificates on hand. Okay. That is important. We provide the certificates, they don't. Now, if they have the documents with the certificates already on there, that's awesome, you know, but you will come across times where that's not the case. And once they pick the acknowledgement, you still have to see what type of acknowledgement you need. Is it general? Is it of capacity? Are you going to be doing credible identifying witness because they're not able to produce satisfactory evidence of their identity? So these are going to be questions that you want to ask your customer before you meet with them, not unless you're going to be carrying all of those different type of certificates around with you. But I don't, so I definitely am, you know, make sure that I ask those questions, those qualifying questions beforehand. Okay, anybody have any other questions about chapter 8? All right, we're moving on. Chapter 9, oaths, affirmations, and jurats. Who wants to get started with questions on that?
Some of the questions that we kind of already talked a little bit about, you know, that the jurat part and the oath and affirmation, that was something that I'm glad we went over.
Yes, yes. And you know, the most confusing thing that everybody comes across is the terminology of a jurat, because it's not just one specific way that it can be worded and be a jurat. It could be duly sworn, sworn to me on behalf, you know, swear or affirm to. It's just so many different ways that they can word that and it be a jurat. And sometimes acknowledgments can have jurat wording, you know, so it's definitely confusing. But like I always say, just become familiar with filling out their certificates, guys. Become familiar with filling them out. The more that you practice filling them out and recording in your journal, the easier it's going to be for you, because that's the questions that come up a million times in the group. What do you put in this blank? This right here. Am I supposed to sign this and stamp it? I don't know. Is this certificate acceptable? You need to review your certificates for your state. Okay. That's just the bottom line. That is a part of your job as a notary. You're not completing any notarization without the certificates, unless you're doing, like we said, an oath affirmation. But you gotta know how to complete your own certificates. Okay, they're all state specific. All the states have their different ways that they word their certificates. And if you need to see copies of your certificate, they have them. You know, they're online. For most of us who states have a handbook, because not all states have one, but for those states that do have a handbook, you have copies of the words and the certificates in your primer or handbook. So you should become familiar with the different ways that those certificates are going to be worded and know how to fill them out. Okay?
I don't know if all states have this. I don't know if all states have it, but when we were doing the state test, they showed you examples of all the different certificates. So
they do.
You can always go back to that training and get the certificate wording.
Well, no, it's in the primer. You have the certificate wording in the primer.
For states that don't have primers. I don't know
Yeah,
if
but all states don't have all states don't have tests.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
So the best resource for them is going to be their state website, handbook, you know. And then for those states that don't have either, I really don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions I thought of, and then it like slipped my mind. I'm having a very long week. I know it's a new week, but it's still last week for me. So I was thinking about the Florida wording, and I was like, it looks exactly like what we were practicing, but then my mind was like, duh, hello, because you're in Florida. And the examples you gave us last week were Florida stuff. So that's why it looked the same. So
yeah.
But other states, they look differently. Like it may not look exactly the way that ours is.
Yes.
What you're saying? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Every state has their own little way of wording. Like I've come across some Texas certificates where in the certificate they automatically have that you were able to verify the person either by ID or on the oath of. And then a lot of notaries get confused because they're like, on the oath of what? Penalty and perjury? What? And it's like, on the oath of an individual. If you use the credible witness, then that's what that's meaning. If you did use a credible witness, just line through it. Like, it's okay. Don't get don't get scared. It's okay, you know. So yeah, those Texas certificates are a little tricky. And then here, guys, it had the different ways that you can word your oaths and affirmations. Did you guys see that in chapter 9? Now, when I first started, I made index cards and I laminated them with the oath and affirmation wording on them. So I keep them in my bag, and if a person, excuse me, has to do an oath affirmation because I'm doing a jurat, I just pull the card out and have them recite that, or I'll recite it to them and have them, you know, I do or I will. So that's a good idea if you guys want to, you know, do that, or if you can remember it off the top of your head, that's awesome too.
We have that in the files section too. I printed those out as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's really,
okay, cool.
really handy. Really handy.
Cool.
Yeah, I printed it out too, but I haven't laminated it yet.
Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
laminated. But I'd like to put that other one that says, I am not an attorney, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, I feel like I should just have that like sitting in front of me at all times.
Now, one thing that kind of confused me, okay, is different from what my primer says. And this is why it's important for you to have your state primer or your state handbook, because this book covers notary in a general form, but you always want to make sure that you're doing your duty by the way your state wants you to. Okay. So here it said, when the oath or affirmation is not associated with another notary act, such as with a jurat or swearing in a credible identifying witness, there is generally no document or certificate involved. Oaths or affirmations as notary acts in their own right do not require certificates because they are simply oral statements. Now, I thought that I read in my primer that they would like us to use a jurat form for it. So I was like, what? When I read it, I do see that you still record it in your journal though, that you still record it in your journal, but I was just confused about whether or not to use a certificate. So I have my primer. I'm gonna go to it and I'm gonna look at it again and see if there, shoot. Let me see. The zipper. Okay, where is it? Okay, here we go. So, oath affirmation. Okay, that's for credible.
Here in my primer, it says for the this is sideline kind of a thing, but it has to do with the verifying that somebody is who they say they are.
Yes.
Do it give them an oath or an affirmation for a corporate position for a jurat, for them to be verifying that they have the authority to sign.
Mm.
So that's that one instance that they let them do that.
Okay. So I guess that will cover you too, Carolyn, because if they're signing that document saying on penalty of perjury that they are able to represent, that's on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you signed this saying that you could do it. So, and me being a notary, I said, okay, you know, let's see.
And we can do oaths for like, you know, like oath of office or public kind of things, but we do need to record it in our journal. That's just Washington. I know,
Okay.
like, there's hardly any Washington people, I think, if there's any at all. You'd think I'd be more busy.
Right. All right. Let me see. Oops. Here we go. An oath is Megan says she's in Washington.
Yay! Thank you, Megan.
And taking an oath and
I
official
have a
proceeding,
question.
person
I have a
considered
question.
criminal penalties for perjury should be. Okay, go ahead.
Concerning the oath and affirmation, trying to get an understanding. So, like when I had to do my passport at the end of the application, they told me not to sign. I had to go in front of whomever she was. And at the end of me filling it out, I had to provide her my ID. And then that's when she gave me the oath and affirmation. Is that what you're saying? That is not actually a notarial act? I mean,
No, that is a notarial.
No, I mean it's a notarial act, but it does not need a certificate because she didn't have to sign
Yeah.
anything. I just couldn't sign. I couldn't sign the application without being in front of her. So is that what you're saying? That it doesn't need a certificate, but it is an open affirmation because I had to raise my right hand. So is
It
it
is
something along that lines that you're saying, where a
Yes.
certificate
Yeah.
is not needed, but it's a notarial act, correct?
It's a
Right.
public service. Public
And
service.
you are going to be recording it in your journal.
Mhm.
Okay.
But
So
I'm trying to read.
they can bring us the paperwork. We give them the oath or affirmation, and then we record that. But there won't be any certificate. Correct.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay. Hold on. Let me go to my primer too. It's in the car. Hold on.
Okay.
Don't read it without me.
Okay. Taking out the affirmation, official proceeding, a person may be subject to criminal penalty. It's all right. It's when given all the office to a public official, swearing public official, or it can be part of the process. Hmm.
I'm back.
Okay. To press. So no, it doesn't look like. Okay, here we go. Depositions. Put the deposition both sides. Questions and answers. Use only last one to perform. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So that is right. If there is no document being used in conjunction with an oath affirmation, you're not completing a certificate, but you are completing a journal entry because an oath affirmation in itself is a notarial act. Okay, there you go. I stand corrected.
Washington too.
Virginia
I
too.
stand corrected. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure because I thought that I read that you still fill it out. But what they're saying is if you're getting like if you're so if it pertains to a document, you're using a certificate pretty much, because it was saying like if a person has a deposition, which is a written statement, you're completing a jurat. It's a written statement. Although it's spoken testimony, the deposition is written. You know, like the court reporter is, gonna, take the recording of what they're saying, right? So it's going to be on a document. So yeah, you're going to use a certificate. But if you're just like swearing in someone, like, oath of office, it's not going to be a certificate. So you're going to but you're definitely going to fill out your journal entry saying that you did perform this oath of office for this official. So that was easy. Okay.
I imagine that doesn't happen a whole lot, but
yeah, no. I had to do a swearing in for someone. A girl had passed her bars, but they sent her a certificate for that. They sent her a document that I had to sign and notarize, and then I had to have her recite the oath. So
because she would have to turn that in to prove that she did swear. And
yeah, because the thing was, because at the time it was when the whole shutdown started, and the judge would usually do it, but they weren't there. So
right.
she had to have a notary do it. So I went to her house and I did it for her. Okay. I put a star by witnessing the signature. Why? In executing a jurat, the notary witnesses the signing of the document. This means the notary must actually see the signer write his or her signature on the document. If it has, this is why, because when I did the training, for filling out certificates, people were saying, so since the person signed the jurat, then we can't notarize it, right? I'm like, well, no, yes, you can. You have them cross out their name, put the initials, and you have them sign in your presence. It doesn't automatically mean that the whole notarization is over. You just have them arrow line through it and have them sign again. Because it's a jurat and you have to witness their signature. It's not an acknowledgement where they can sign before they see you. I had a notary ask me, he said he went to a nursing home and the person had been diagnosed with COVID. And so the nurse told him that he couldn't go up there to see them, but that she can take the document up there and video him on his phone and have her sign that way. And so he said, is that acceptable? I said, no, it's not. It's not acceptable.
No way.
I didn't get into, a whole thing with them. I just kind of said no, and he didn't ask any more questions. But in that instance, guys, no, you cannot do that. What you can do is you can do a remote online notarization if they want to do that. But no, a person cannot be on the phone, video call, sign the document and showing you that they signed it. No, that can't be like that. There's no way that you can see that whole room to make sure that the same person that they showed you on the camera is the same person signing that document. There's no way that they can do that. So no, you cannot do that.
And
they
also
could just do it another day.
You can't validate whether they were willingly signing the document, whether the paperwork was like a legitimate thing. It could be,
exactly.
Grandpa's giving his house to, his crazy nephew who, you just don't know. So like,
no, you cannot do that. You can't bring me down their ID and then take your phone back up there. No, it's not, no, it's just no. No matter how you try to do it, no, I cannot do it. Well, that needs to be signed today. Women, you guys are gonna have to figure out something different.
They're trying to avoid that. They trying to avoid that Ron $25 fee. That's what it is.
Right.
I don't remember what document it was. I don't remember if it was a power of attorney or a will. But unfortunately, you know, you can't do it. You just can't.
It's always a little sketchy having people do stuff, last minute at the hospital prior to someone's death.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
at the hospital, I'd see people come in and it's a little sketchy because are they in there 100% mind? Like they're they could be feeling a lot of upset about something. Maybe little granddaughter brought them in, and it could raise up a whole bunch of problems after they pass if that stuff gets
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have like someone dies and the will was changed within 3 months prior to their death. There's a conversation then they have about that. Like that's not just accepted. If their will 3 months prior to their death, it has to be
wow.
it goes through probate a little differently.
Okay, let's see. Journal. Okay, yeah, we did that. It should always be a journal entry for any notarial act that you perform. You should always do a journal entry, guys. Okay, we don't want to skip that step. We went over who can give oaths and affirmations earlier on, but I know there are some people who just joined. So, besides notaries, there are certain other officials that can give oaths and affirmations. Okay, that is including some federal, state, county, and city employees. Electees and appointees also may administer oaths and affirmations due to powers of their office. Okay. So yes, we're notaries, we're public officials, we can administer oaths and affirmations, guys. Let me see what else I marked off on here. I wanted to. And then do you guys see here, if you notice in chapter 8 for acknowledgements, it had a different set of the 3 facts that you're going to certify for an acknowledgement versus a jurat. Anybody notice that? So let me see. I'm going to go back here on what page? Come on. Yeah. So on page 92. Huh?
I was going to say, are you referring to personal appearance, positive identification, and acknowledge of signature?
Of signatures. Yes. And if you notice on page 121 for jurats, it has a little different set of facts for them.
Yeah, there was a conversation there that said that not all states require you to ID the person, and
really,
and I thought that's interesting because it's definitely not in your best interest to not do that.
Okay. Yeah, it's a best practice that you do that, just like it's a not every state requires a journal, but it is a best practice to do so. You want to record all notarizations that you do. Those are transactions that can be brought up in court, and you want to have some evidence, if they come back to you. Because you're definitely not going to be able to remember. I don't remember every notarization I've done. I don't remember the people. If I saw them on the street, I probably wouldn't remember who they were either. so you definitely want to keep record. But for jurat, it's personal appearance, witnessing of signature, and administration of oath or affirmation. Versus acknowledgement, which is also personal appearance, but it's positive identification and acknowledgement of signature, which means that you don't necessarily have to witness a signature of an acknowledgement. And we did go through that already.
Yeah. That's a good one though.
Yeah. Now I did start witnessing the signature. Let me see why. Oh, we already did that. All right, let me go. Oh, this is what we were talking about earlier, Jane. No representative jurats. So because one person may not take an oath or affirmation for another person or entity, it is not possible to execute certain jurats for signers who are acting in a representative capacity. Remember, so I couldn't say that Be Elise Notary Services swears that all the contents in that document are true. No, not me, Be Elise Notary Services. No, you can't do that. That's no way, they're an entity, but they're not an individual. Okay.
Mhm.
An oath or affirmation is a personal commitment. Okay. So my business cannot personally commit to anything without me of conscience that individuals only can make for themselves. While attorneys, in fact, go ahead.
In Washington, they do have a however, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Notaries can administer an oath to a corporate signer to compel that person to be truthful, that they have the authority to sign. That's the difference for them.
Well, no, we already went through that. Remember, when they sign the certificate, it has it in the certificate wording too.
Mm-hmm.
That under penalty or perjury, that they are saying that they are able to represent in the capacity that they say they are.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it says that in the certificate. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
While attorneys, in fact, trustees, corporate officers, and other representatives may swear to or affirm facts and sign documents requiring jurats in their own individual names, they may not sign affidavits, depositions, and other sworn documents in the name of another. Okay?
It's personal kind of a thing.
A personal conscious thing. Okay, so your business doesn't have a conscience and it can't personally do anything. You can though. And then what's another one? Okay, so I started this too on page 124. It says the term jurat is frequently misused. Many persons mistakenly refer to all notary certificates, even to acknowledgement certificates, as jurats. When a signer asks that a notary attach a jurat to a document, the notary should question the person to determine what is really meant. Okay? So it is our job to make sure that we understand what the customer wants. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. And then here it goes through the steps of performing a typical jurat. Okay. And then we're at the end. That's the end of chapter 9, guys. So did you guys have any questions about chapter 9?
Oh, just jurats are tricky.
Yeah, they
have
are.
a question about that, what you had just mentioned, Ms. Full, if someone asks to attach a jurat, and you question them, and they say, well, I don't know, my agency said I needed to have a jurat attached to the document. I mean, that's acceptable?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. If the receiving party specifically told them what type of notarization they want, then yes, that's acceptable.
Okay.
But if a person just comes to you and just says, yeah, I'm signing this document, I'm gonna have you attach a jurat. Oh, okay. Do you know why you're attaching a jurat? You could just ask some questions. You don't want to sway them any way, but you want to ask them. And if they could tell you like, yeah, because I want to swear that all this stuff is right. Oh, say no more. That's right.
Okay.
That's what a jurat is,
All right.
But if they mess around and say, yeah, because I was told I got to get my signature acknowledged.
I want to make sure
you want an acknowledgement.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So in the chat, I shared 2 Google links to blank journal pages that I wanted you guys to print out, because I have 5 scenarios so that you can practice journaling. Okay. And I'm going to share them. Let me share my screen. And then that's going to be it, unless you guys have any other questions about chapter 8 and 9. No? All
I
right.
don't have any questions
Oh.
about chapter 8, and honestly, I did not get a chance to read chapter 9, so I'm in the doghouse with Miss Carolyn over there. But I was checking my stamps, and it doesn't seem like it's coming out very clear on the small one. But I just wasn't
Mhm.
sure if maybe I should keep practice stamping because
Yes.
it seemed like when I stamped more, it got a little bit clearer.
Mhm. Yes, you want to. And sometimes you got to palm it. Like, you know how you want to do this. Sometimes you got to palm it when you when you use your stamp so that you can make sure everything is imprinted on the paper.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully anybody who wants to participate in practicing journaling was able to print out the journal pages. And if you need them, the links are in the chat. You just got to scroll up because
It
there are
prints
some
so
messages
small,
there.
I need a magnifying glass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see.
Oh yeah, that is some tiny baby stuff there.
I had to get the magnifying glass. I'm like, I
Well,
can't
you know
see.
what? Let me see. Let me see. I have some other ones.
Unless I can
Let me
rotate
see.
it or something. Let me see.
Let me see
Can it be
if I
rotated?
can find it. Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find it. I had I think some better copies. Let me see.
It ain't gonna make me rotate it. Let's try.
Journal. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can find because is it that it's too small or too light?
It's too small for my little
See,
old lady.
on the screen I can blow it up, but when I gotta print it out or write on it, then nah, it's very small.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
You should be able to make it bigger before you print it, like increase the size.
Yeah, I did.
print it.
Like I just hold on, I made it bigger.
Because
Let's
I
see
got
if-
mine just a tad bit bigger, but honestly, I couldn't tell you really what I did. But
Mine's
Oh,
see
dang.
it? How it's like a little bit bigger than it was.
I'm
Oh,
trying to
man.
maybe make it landscape. Let me make it landscape and see if it'll come out better.
Oh, yeah, it will. It will. Print it
Yeah.
out in landscape, guys. Those journal pages are
Yeah,
made
because I
for
have it in
landscape, not portrait.
portrait made it small.
Oh, no. Yeah, do it in landscape. Jane, what about you? Is yours in landscape and you still can't see it?
It was not. I'm printing right now. I'm gonna see if I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Everybody make sure that the pages are printed in landscape. And then I'm going to work on sharing my screen. So hold on. Because I want you guys to see my screen as opposed to me reading it.
Oh yeah,
Big,
that's a
big
lot better.
difference. Big difference. All
Oh,
right.
okay. Okay, good.
You
Okay.
said big difference. It's not that much bigger.
Oh my gosh, mine is literally like
Well, mine is a lot
I
much
can
bigger.
read it now. Mine was I couldn't read it before.
Yeah, see, it's a lot bigger. Fill the page.
Oh, I didn't feel like it was that much bigger. That's what mine looks like. I printed it landscape, and it just was
Oh.
like a little bit bigger.
Okay. All right. I think I got it.
I just
Window.
got
Here we go. All right. I got it.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Let me know if you see my screen.
Yep.
It should say, let's journal.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let me see if I can make this a little. Oh, it's too big. All right. So let's get started. So here's your journal entry number 1.
Okay, and is there a particular one we're supposed to do? Because there's two
Yes, you're
different
going to
kinds.
be doing. Yes, you guys are going to figure that out
Okay, you don't.
by the words in the scenario here.
Because I only got one journal.
Yeah, I'm just showing one right now. Oh, wait, are you talking about the pages?
Yeah, which page?
Oh, no, 1 and 2, you put it together
Oh, I see.
because you
Okay,
go all the way across.
Now it's making more sense.
Okay, sorry guys. The reason why you have 2 pages is because it's the modern journal that I have, and you go across one entry goes across 2 pages.
Gotcha. Let's see if I can make this bigger.
So I'm going to read the scenario, okay? Because sometimes it sounds better when you read it out loud. So Susan B. Hold on, wait. Can I push this down? Oh, yay. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger when I do that. Oh, yeah. All right. How's that, guys? Okay.
Better.
All right. So Susan B. Max has a power of attorney document needing notarization. She signed the document 2 days ago. She lives in Mississippi and has a valid Mississippi ID. And ID can be driver's license in this case. I just didn't write it out. Okay. She's visiting family in your town. After reviewing the documents, you see 3 documents needing notarization. Let's see. Hold on, guys. I got to turn my light on. Be back. Okay. And then we'll go over to make sure you guys put everything in the right columns. Oops, sorry. I'm back. Okay, let me look here. All done, guys?
Yes.
All right. Let's go over it. So let me go back to my screen. All right. So in the first column, month, day, year, time of notarization, what are we putting?
Today.
Well,
Today.
Today, 20
And
something,
now
823.
Yep, that's correct. Kind or type of notarization. What did you guys conclude?
acknowledgement.
That's correct. It must be an
Acknowledgement, POA.
acknowledgement. Well, kind and type of notarization is going to be acknowledgement only. Under
Okay.
document date.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
under kind or
under
type of.
description of document, it's an acknowledgement, but don't you check it off next to the POA?
Oh wait, hold on. Let me get a copy of because I'm does mine look different than it says kind or type of notarization? Hold on. Make sure I'm looking at the columns correctly.
I'm like, am I looking at the same document you looking at?
I can't even.
The book. I'm thinking that the copy looks just like the book, but hold
No,
on.
on the document it has description of document, and then it has A and J, and then the type of document. I mean, what it is.
Oh
So I
yes,
put
right. I gave y'all a
POA,
copy of. Hold on,
right?
guys. All right.
Oh,
So
page.
notarization, date and time, data document. Okay. All right. So here, right, where it says description of document or proceeding, you're going to be putting POA acknowledgement. You are correct. I'm looking at the right copy now. Sorry. All right. So are we putting anything in additional information?
No.
All right. Under signer name and address, what are we putting?
Susan B. Max, whatever, Mississippi,
MS.
whatever.
If you live in Missouri, Mississippi, whatever the hell it is, I forgot.
All right. And then methods of identification.
Driver's
Driver's
license.
license.
Okay. And then in this box, you will put the ID number, the expiration or issue date, which most likely
Oh,
you will put
that's
the
what we
expiration date.
started talking about at the beginning of the thing, but we didn't finish. When I called them and asked for clarification on it, they said, depending on your state, if you are allowed to, whatever, if you need to do that, required, whatever. But they said you write down the agency that distributed it, the ID number, and expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
Remember,
Yes.
we were like, should it be expiration date? Should it be issue date? So they said expiration.
Mm-hmm. Some journals ask you for both. So you just fill in whatever is there. But here on this specific journal page, you're going to put driver's license. It's the Mississippi driver's license, ID number, and expiration date. Yes, correct. And then she's going to sign, and then she's going to put her thumbprint, right? And then what are we charging her for this notarization, guys?
Charging her $10.
30.
They're correct. After reviewing the documents, you see 3 documents needing notarization.
$30.
So you're going to charge 3.
What was the other 2 documents?
What'd you say?
What was the other 2 documents?
No, it says after you review the documents, because you're going to review them to see where you need to notarize, right?
Right.
You see that there are 3 documents that you need to notarize. So that's 3 documents that you have to sign and apply your seal. So you're not just going to charge $10.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
And
3
they
of
were
the same documents?
Say it again.
That's 3 of the same documents, just 3 copies?
No, guys. So when you do power of attorneys, wills, trusts, sometimes they're more than 1 page. Sometimes all of the verbiage, sometimes it could be paragraphs, things like that. Want her to do medical power of attorney. Like, have you ever seen a medical power of attorney document? Sometimes it could be 5 to 10 pages long. So it may have where she's assigning 3 different people. So maybe it's 3 different, people she's assigning. So maybe it's 3 different documents you need to notarize. Whatever the matter is, you just want to make sure that you review all the documents to see what you need to do. You notice that there's 3 certificates, 3 different pages. So what do? You apply your seal to all of them. Okay.
And each certificate is an additional fee.
Say it again.
And each certificate is an additional fee.
Every notarial act that you perform is a fee. So like in Florida, we charge $10 per notarial act. A notarial act is anytime I have to complete a certificate, sign, and seal.
Okay.
So when I say on here, after reviewing all the documents, you see that you had to notarize 3. So it may have been 3 documents with 3 certificates on them. And you have to fill out the certificate, you have to sign and seal. So you're going to charge for each time that you had to complete a notarial act.
Okay.
Now, in some states, it's per signature. So you guys want to make sure that if you're not in Florida, that you check your state handbook to see if it's per signature or per notarial act. And then also in some states, and I don't remember which one, it's $6 for the first document and $1 for each for every other one. So it's just different in every state. My state is $10 for each one.
So if there are 3 documents that need to be notarized, do you have 3 journal entries?
No. If it's a power of attorney document, you're just notarizing all the documents that are in the power of attorney. Now, if the documents have different titles, yes, you would.
Okay.
So if you have a signature affidavit, you have a non-disclosure agreement, you have general acknowledgement, then yeah, all of them have different titles. So yes, you are going to be making 3 different journal entries. But if it's just that it's a power of attorney and, you know, for whatever reason, it all goes with the power of attorney, it's just going to be 1 entry. But you want to make sure you make a different entry for each different type of notarization that you had to perform, because sometimes, like with my situation for Saturday, I had to perform 2 notarial acts for the same document. It was a marriage separation. The reason why I was 2, because I was witnessing her signature and his signature. So it was just 1 journal entry for him, 1 journal entry for her, but it was 2 notaries per person. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you guys ready to move to the next one?
One question before you do.
Oh, yes.
Because it was 3 documents, do you note that in the description and say it was 3 documents?
Yeah,
Or
you
no?
can. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
You can.
But keep in mind, like I was just explaining to the other person, because I don't know who's talking now, because I'm not looking at the chat screen. If you have 3 different documents that you're notarizing, okay, they're all 3 totally different type of documents, you are going to have multiple entries for 1 person. Okay, you have a separate entry for each type of document that you're doing. If they're different, then you got to have different journal entries. Now, if you have the type of journal where you could put multiple documents under, like I do, I have a 1-page journal, and I document all the documents that I notarize for that 1 person in 1 entry, because I am able to. That's how the journal was made up. In this particular one that I'll go ahead.
I've seen those journals. They look great. They're especially good for us doing a signing.
Yes. For this type of journal, you're going to have to do a separate entry for each different type of document that you do.
Really, even though on line number 1, you have several documents up there. If they were doing more than 1, if you were doing a vehicle, a VIN number, and you were doing a power of attorney, and you were doing let's say a survey, you can check mark all 3 as acknowledgement. Oh,
yes.
you can. Okay.
Yes.
So you do it under that
That's
one.
what this is. This is what this is made for. So if you see here, you're able to do use this for loan signings, because it does have some of the loan signing documents that you would come across. So you can check them off, acknowledgement or jurat. And then it says other, but it only gives you 2 different spaces for others. So like she said, if you have 3, you're going to have to end up making another entry for it, aren't you? If you have 3 that's not listed here.
Well, the way the other is pointing in the box to write it out, I would think you would write it in there.
But if you check in acknowledgement, jurat, or for the C is for copy certification. That's only for one other type of document, isn't it? Not for multiple.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
So
never,
it depends on the journal.
but it's always a good practice to basically just, write out what, I mean, unless you got one of those journals that has everything there nicely on one page. But if it's, you're never going to be sad that you wrote too much information in your journal. Because
and guys, don't forget, every state has their own rules for how your journal entry should be. So even though I'm in Florida, okay, I have a little bit more leniency here. I can put all of my documents in one journal entry for one person. Okay. Every state can't do that. California, you cannot do that. In California, you have to make an entry for every document that you notarize. Okay. In Florida, I don't have to do that. Okay. So if you're in a state where you have to do that, make sure that you do exactly what your state says that you can do. For me, I can put all the documents in one journal entry and keep it going. Okay. But that's for me because I'm in Florida. And yes, you want to have one journal for a general notary and signings. That is best practice. That is not a requirement. In your state, if you're able to have, if your state does not have a journal requirement, you can literally do whatever you want to. But if you want to be a notary that operates in best practices, you're going to have one journal at a time, not multiple.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in a state where you don't have to have a journal. I've seen people do all type of stuff. They have loose leaf paper in a binder. They have blank white piece of paper with lines written on it. They do all type of stuff here. So one journal, okay, for everything. Why? Because your transactions should be recorded in chronological order. If you have multiple journals, your transactions are going to be all over the place. There's no way they're going to be in chronological order. You're going to have a week here, a week there. It's going to be crazy, confusing. Okay. Imagine if somebody wanted to get a copy of a journal entry from you. You'd be days looking through multiple journals trying to figure out, I think I might have put it in this journal, or maybe I put it in. Don't do that to yourself. Have one journal for all your transactions. Okay. And if you can, buy a journal where it serves multiple purposes. Okay. That's all I can say about that. All right, guys. Let's move to the next because I didn't want to be doing this to 9 o'clock, but 2 journals would be confusing. Yeah, it does. It is. But to each his own. I use one journal at a time. So, all right, journal entry 2. Tony Acorn is your son's 5-year basketball coach. So you've known this man, for quite some time. He needs his daughter's minor consent form notarized. Okay. He was told that he needed to sign the document in the presence of a notary. This should be an easy one. All right, you guys should be done with that one. 'Cause that one was not hard at all. You guys done?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, let's go. So in the first column, now that I got the right journal to look at, we got notarization, date, and time.
July 20th, 8:41 p.m. July 20th.
All right. What about date on the document, though?
I put July 20th because
Good.
he's putting it in front of us.
Good. And you know what? I forgot to ask you guys, what did you put for the date of document for the other one?
July 18th.
Good job. Yep. Because she signed it 2 days ago. So that's going to be whatever date that she put on there when she signed. Okay. So let's go back to this one. All right. So what fee are we putting here for this document?
$10.
Okay. And then description of document. What's the
I
description
put-
of the document?
It's his minor consent form, so I did it under an acknowledgement in the other box.
Okay. But what about the clue where it said he was told that he needed to sign the document in the presence of a notary?
Yeah, I said it was a jurat.
Yes, it would be a jurat because you don't have to sign the presence of a notary if it's an acknowledgement.
That's true.
Okay.
It can already be
Right.
signed. Okay.
All right. Are we putting any notes in the additional information box?
No.
Yes.
Okay. What type of
I-
note will you be putting in there?
I put in there that it was, someone who I've known for 5 years. It was a family that I knew, and I put the child's. I don't have the child's name, but I would have asked for the child's information and that kind of stuff and put that in there.
Okay. And that's fine. Additional information is for any notes that you want to add specifically. You don't have to add anything if you don't want to. Okay. So signer name and other info.
Tony Acorn,
Yep. And then methods of identification.
personally known.
Yep. And then he signs and then thumbprint. All right. See, that was easy. Anybody have any questions about this one? All right. Moving on.
On personal signings, is it a best practice to get their ID and add that as well? Or what?
You
What is
can
your
if you
thought?
want. You can if you want, but if you know them, like you know them, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do personally known, or if you want to, like my first notarization was with someone who I personally know, but because it was my first notarization, I wanted to practice, I got their ID anyway. So it's totally up to you.
I did the same thing.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, totally up to you.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next one, guys. Jamie Strong needs to go out of state for business. She has a dog in a boarding center and won't be able to pick her up because she has to go out of town. She asks her sister if she can do it, and her sister agreed to. She calls the boarding center and they ask that she give her sister a handwritten letter that is notarized in order to give permission for them to release the dog to her. She has a valid ID for her state, well, for your state. I'm sorry. She has a valid ID for your state. She hands you the letter, but you notice that there is no notarial wording included on the letter. So what will we do in this situation? First of all, you can't journal anything because you are missing the most important part of the process, right?
You don't have this. You don't have any wording.
Right. So you don't know what type of notarization you're going to be performing. So what are you going to do?
You're going to get a certificate.
What type of
The
certificate?
client.
Exactly. You got to ask
tell
them first, what type of notarization do they want? And then they're, quite naturally going to say they don't know. So you're going to quite naturally tell them the differences between the two most common types of notarizations, right?
Yeah.
Acknowledgements and jurat.
So you're going to explain both to her, and then she's going to choose. She's deciding to go with an acknowledgement. So now you can proceed.
So I have a question. The handwritten letter that's notarized, I mean, the handwritten letter is giving her sister authority to pick up
Her dog.
her dog.
Mhm.
So we're notarizing the signature of Jamie Strong,
Right. Because she's
who's
the one
not
giving permission.
who's not present.
No, she is present. She's not going to be there to pick the
Oh,
dog up though.
oh, I see.
So
Okay.
she had to write a letter
Yeah.
giving her sister permission, and she needs to get it
Okay.
notarized by you before she leaves.
Okay. She hasn't left. All right. Thank you.
Mhm. You're welcome.
And so then the boarding center will validate the idea of the person who is picking up the dog.
Right. Because her name is going to be listed in the letter, but they have to see if she is the same person listed in the letter. So they'll quite naturally ask for that, but that's not your concern.
Okay.
They're supposed to, but who knows if they will. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm. They would if it was a school, probably.
Uh,
If it was a child at school, they would ask, right?
You would hope. You would hope they would.
Yeah, you would hope. You would sure hope, man.
Okay, you guys all done with that one?
Yes and no. I have a question, but I'll wait till we get to
Yeah.
it.
Oh, okay. You guys ready for me to go through it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are we putting for notarization date and time?
July 20th, 8:46.
Okay, date on document.
July 20th.
The 20th.
And what about the fee?
$10.
Yep, we're going to be performing one notarial act. Description of document.
So that was my question. I know it's an acknowledgement, but I didn't have to, I can just use the other box because all the other ones have things that's not relevant. Okay.
Yep.
So I don't have to make a note, then I can just check the A.
Right. Check the A and then write what you notarized. So I would put it's a letter of consent. She's consenting to, or a letter of permission or something like that,
Yeah.
Because if she just hand wrote it, it's not really going to have a title, right?
Right.
So that's why it has on here.
I didn't know what to pick.
Yeah. Yep. It says description of document. So you write your own description if it doesn't have a title.
And then
Do you want to
information I wrote down, like I would get the sister's name and all that information put in, just additional information.
Okay, but you know that you will only have just her name in the letter. You wouldn't have any other information because she's not present. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Signer name and address.
Jamie Strong.
Jamie Strong.
Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, she's in your state, correct? Yes. Method of identification.
Driver's license, ID number, expiration date.
Okay. And then don't forget, you want to make sure you put the issuing authority, which is going to be your state. So you want to put Florida or Indianapolis or whatever state you're in.
Okay, so on top of saying that it's like Florida's driver's license, I also need to add to that.
No, if you check off driver's license, you just put, Florida ID number and then expiration.
Okay.
And I think it asks for birthday too, right? I mean, you put birthday and expiration, or I don't know.
Driver's license number.
Driver's license number, expiration, and you want to put the issuing authority. Have her sign and do her thumbprint. I don't currently use this journal right now. I plan to use it after. I might. I don't know. I've been liking my journal. I have a journal that I made for myself, and I'm using it right now, and I'm kind of liking it. I bought this one thinking I wasn't gonna like my journal, but I'm kind of liking my journal. All right, next. All right. Tammy Reed, attorney, contacts you regarding a court testimony where she needs her client, Barbara Jones, oath to be witnessed for a court case. The client presents to you a valid ID for your state. This is a tricky one, but we did cover it in the chapter, so you guys should be able to figure it out. This is the one where we kind of had to take a break and kind of look in our primers and try to figure it out. This is that one.
This doesn't require a certificate notarization. Does
Right.
it?
No certificate. There's not going to be any certificate present.
It's just
you're just present as a witness. So you would record just that in the journal entry.
Yep. You still have to record it because it is a notarial act.
Okay.
So all the information that you have here for the person that you're going to be performing the act for, you want to put that information down. So I'm interested to see what you guys are going to put. We had somebody just join or leave. Oh. Let's see. Okay, we ready?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, let's go through it. So under notarization date and time,
July
July
20th,
20th.
date of documents.
July 20th.
Well, there isn't any document, so
No
we wouldn't
document.
need to put any date for that. We just have the notarization date and time. We could charge a fee for this. It is a notarial act. So what is the fee?
$10.
$5.
Okay. All right. And then description of document or proceeding.
Oath.
All right. So then you would do other, right?
Other.
Other. Now wrote down no document for my note.
All right.
Oath.
And
could you
then
say court testimony for? I guess it's not a document. I guess that's why. No.
yeah, it's not a document. So you would put description of document or proceeding. So the description of the proceeding is oath affirmation for court case or court hearing or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I wrote in my. And I
Okay,
wrote
so
the attorney's name just as a reference.
I'm sorry. Oh, the attorney's name and additional information.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a good note. What about signer name and address?
Barbara Jones.
Yep. Method of identification.
Driver's license.
Okay. And you're putting your state, right? ID number, expiration date. All right. And they're signing and thumbprinting. All right. Good deal. Anybody have questions about this one? All right. We're moving on to our last one. You get a call from a rehabilitation facility. One of their patients needs to sign a medical power of attorney document. The patient has had a stroke and their right hand, and is right-handed, but cannot use his right hand. However, he is able to scribble with his left hand. He has a valid ID for your state and a witness that has a valid ID for the state of Indiana. You review the document and notice that within the certificate wording, it it mentions acknowledge before you. So how are we going to approach this, guys?
It's going to be
What-
a signature by Mark,
Yes, correct.
and he's going to have to sign, and his witness is also going to have to sign for him in the additional column.
Yes. The signer is going to sign his mark, and then beside his mark, you're going to put mark of his name. Okay. And then under identity established, he does have a valid ID, so you can use that, right?
Yes. We're also supposed to get the ID information for the witness person, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that information can go where?
And the additional information,
Along with his.
signature.
Yep. Now, I wanted to do this one because although this is not going to be something you do regularly, you want to still have a grasp on what you should do. Now, what I will tell you is every state is different. For Florida, we require 2 witnesses for a signature by mark, not just one. Although I used one here. Okay.
Yeah, in Washington, we would need 2 as well.
Okay. And it also says here in my primer that Florida law provides special notary certificates for persons signing by mark. So if you know that your person is going to be signing by mark, you just want to make sure that you have the appropriate certificates available. And I won't get into how you would use your certificate versus theirs because I have already recorded that information. If you guys have watched the group YouTube videos, I did go through what you would do in the event the certificate listed on the document is not the type of certificate that you need to use. I did already review that. I would need I would probably need a whole nother hour to go through that, and I don't want to do that. You're welcome, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. All right, we're done with this one, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so notarization date and time.
July 20th, 2021.
Date of document.
July 20th, 2021.
Yep. All right, and the fee I didn't put on here was multiple documents, so we're just going to assume that there was one, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about description of document?
Power of attorney.
It's a medical power of attorney.
Medical power of attorney.
Mm-hmm. So instead of you being able to use the POA limited or durable that's already printed on here, you would use the other line. And then I did make mention of what is listed in the certificate wording. So that lets you know that it's what type of notarization.
Acknowledgement.
Yep. Are we going to be putting any additional information?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We already went through it, but you guys can tell me again, what are we putting in the additional information?
The person who is their oh gosh, I'm looking here. The witness.
Person who's witnessing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, because you have to have 2, you can put 1 in the additional information, and then you could put 1 in the box here if you have room where you're going to be putting the driver's license, because the person does have an ID. So you're going to be recording right here at the top. You're going to check off driver's license and do that. And then you can do the credible witness under there, or you can make a whole nother journal entry for that.
Oh.
I was answering y'all with my mute button on.
Oh.
And if you did like put that information like in the line below, you know, you would just cross out the stuff that says what it is, because it would be regarding the above document. Is that correct?
Wait, what do you mean? I'm confused.
So like if I have, like if I've got the 2 witnesses and I can't get them all in that additional information, can
Yeah.
I use my external entry but just cross out the stuff saying that it's another whole document, because it would still be regarding the top document, like the number 5 entry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how I want to respond to you on that. So, yes, you would have to make a whole new journal entry, but you're still going to put what document is regarding. You still want to put what document is regarding, and then you can put in the additional information the person information still, just like you did in the other additional information. It's going to be the person's name, ID, and signature.
But what I write,
Then you're
like,
going to have to,
for the
you're not going to be
document,
crossing anything out.
what
You're going to
I
be
write?
putting everything that you did in the other entry.
Okay.
Because it's still for the same document that they're witnessing. You're witnessing a signature for.
Wouldn't I write down above mentioned document? And like number 5, if I had to bleed over into number 6. See what
No,
I'm saying?
because you're going to put the same signer name and address. So they're going to know that it's for the same person.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not going to leave that blank. You're going to fill in the same signer name information too.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, yep, you're welcome. And then when the signer puts his mark there, you're going to write beside it, mark of his name.
Okay.
And then you should still be able to collect the right thumbprint from him, even though his right hand is paralyzed. I don't know. I don't think does your extremity being paralyzed take away from the thumbprint? I don't think it does, right?
It kind of it matters if a person is contracted or not, like how, what's happening. Sometimes people with real severe arthritis can have a real funky bend to it, but in Washington right now, they're not really wanting you to do a whole lot of thumbprinting unless you have a separate, one of those, you can't use the thumbprint pads is what I mean, because of the COVID. They want you to use separate thumbprint, which you can't purchase though.
Yeah, you can, and then they have them.
In New Jersey, we're not doing thumbprints at all.
Yeah, they're not requiring it right now because of the COVID.
Okay. Well, that's good. As long as you guys know what you can do in your state, what you can and can't do, that's what's most important. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and we're done, guys. Those are all the examples that I had.
Thank you.
What did you guys think about those? Were those helpful?
Yeah,
Great
really.
examples. Yes, of course.
All right, cool.
I love
so.
I just one question about the signature with mark, which would probably never happen, but it's the standard acknowledgement certificate, right? And somewhere,
it's not a standard acknowledgement. It's it has to be a specific. Well, what state are you in? Because I'm in Florida.
Well, in New Jersey, we don't have one for that.
Okay, so then for you it would be. It would be. But see, for my state, they have a specific. Oh my God, they have a specific certificate that they would like us to use for people who have to do signature by mark.
I guess it would be great. It actually says notarization procedures, because properly witnessed mark is considered a signature under custom and law. No special notary certificate is required.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I
then,
guess it
yes,
would
you
be
would
for
use a
me
general.
the standard
Mhm.
individual acknowledgement. Okay.
Right.
And we
Yep.
just squeeze in all that,
Mhm.
you know, marked by notation that the witness has to fill in. Okay.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah.
A lot of writing. That's
Well,
why
you
you.
know,
Yes.
I would assume
Exactly.
that in your primer, it will tell you specifically what to do for notary by mark. Like if it doesn't have a specific certificate, maybe it's still has like different wording that you can use, or I don't know.
It actually is very limited. It just says,
Dang.
yeah, it's very limited. That's all it kind
Okay.
of says. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
And that
sorry.
we need two witnesses. Yes. And one
Okay.
has to legibly print the marker's name beside the mark on the document. It doesn't say which one, just one of them.
Oh, so they would print it, not you. Hear that,
One of
guys?
the one of the
Yeah.
witnesses in New Jersey, would
Yeah.
print
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I am done. Our next meeting, we're going to be reviewing chapter 10 and 11. And if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.